We made peace a symbol of ours. In the name of peace we gather here now. Oh Lord, please make these days of ours on this earth filled with peace. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Waleed Basyouni, and I would like to welcome you in a new episode of this program, Heroic or Heretic. And also would like to welcome my guests, Ahmed and Omar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam wa rasulillah. All praise due to Allah and His praise and blessing and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear viewers, we've been discussing a lot of issues that raised by these modern extremist groups. As Ahmed and Omar, we've been discussing this for now a few episodes. And one of the issues that I think it is worth spending some time in explaining it is the issue of the concept of jihad. You know, they call themselves jihadi groups, and these groups use this tool or this issue, this one single issue, to recruit a lot of youth, to convince a lot of people to believe in these groups' goals and missions and methods, even by saying al-jihad is one of the thing that Islam legislates. It is one of the duties of Muslims, and it must continue until the Day of Judgment. Al-jihad madin ila yawm al-qiyamah. And since it's one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's prescriptions upon us, He prescribed this upon us, so stopping it or denying it or not practicing it, it is considered denying and rejecting part of the religion, and that's considered ridda and kufr, that take the person out of the fold of Islam. Also, one thing that you say all the time, that al-jihad is fardu ayn, is obligatory upon every single Muslim and Muslimah. And the child or the one must leave the house without the permission of his parents, and all these things, because it is obligatory upon every single Muslim. Why? Because Muslims' world are occupied by non-Muslims. So this is Afghanistan, at one time occupied by the Americans or the Western, as well as Iraq, as well as Palestine, as well. Even they go farther in history. They said Spain and Russia, occupying so many other countries as well. So because of that, al-jihad must be fard ayn, obligatory upon every single Muslim until we free all these lands. Not only that, they also believe that it is occupied by ruler who they consider them kuffar, and not Muslims, and governments that have Muslims' names, but for them they don't see them as Muslims. So Muslims must stand up and rise and fight and do jihad against these governments. So that's basically what that's what they say. Maybe some of them not say all these points, but at least some of these points. So let's explore, and examine this claim. And let's explore what the word jihad and the concept of jihad means. Obviously, al-jihad needs its own program. It needs many episodes to cover. But I hope through our conversation or through this episode to highlight some points I think will be very helpful in understanding the concept of jihad. Yes, Ahmed.
Okay. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If we look at the word jihad in Arabic it means for striving or exerting or exerting energy, having the energy to do something. This is jihad. In the Islamic terminology, it means striving for making the word of Allah supreme and to spread the religion of Allah, which is Islam, and the only religion on the earth. And like we mentioned before, the story of one of the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, Rabi' ibn Amr, may Allah be pleased with him, in his dialogue with, his conversation with Rustum, the leader of the Persians this time. He said that Allah sent us to get people out of worshipping people to worship the Lord of people, and from the narrowness of this dunya or this life to the vastness of this dunya and the hereafter, al-akhirah.
Yes.
So this is just to highlight the meaning of
Very
jihad.
good. I would like to pick on the linguistic definition, which is, you say, what's jihad comes from? Jahd.
Yes.
Or jahada, which it means?
Striving.
Striving. This word, just something to highlight, the word in jihad in Arabic language give you the indication that there is a force against another force. That's right. Al-jihad, it means when you put some striving and force against other force,
Exactly.
pushing another force. That's why from even the linguistic meaning, you understand that al-jihad is basically pushing back, pushing back the force of evil, pushing back what is not correct, pushing back the injustice, pushing back to protect something valuable. So it's very unique how the word jihad actually means. Al-jihad, as you just mentioned, the technical definition about making Allah's words supreme or anything like that, I do have a reservation on how this can be perceived in English, but what I would like to say that al-jihad cannot have just one single meaning or definition, because al-jihad has many different categories. You know, Ibn al-Qayyim, for instance, in Zad al-Ma'ad, mentioned 13 different categories of al-jihad. And he said that whoever did not practice any one of these branches or categories definitely will die upon one of the shu'ab al-nifaq, one of the branches of hypocrisy. And for example, he said al-jihad with a shaitan, against the shaitan, that you make jihad against the devil. And this can be done through two ways: by rejecting and fighting the desires that he used to deceive you, and reject the doubts that he raised and whisper it to you. Whisper them to you and put it in your head. So fighting these two types, this is in jihad al-shaitan. He said also there is a jihad against your own struggle, your own nafs, when your nafs order you to do something wrong or something evil. There is a jihad against, he said, the kuffar and the hypocrites. And this can be done sometimes with the wealth, sometimes with the word, sometimes with the hand, sometimes with the heart. So you have all these different basically ways. And he mentioned also the jihad against al-zalimeen, the transgressors, by pushing back their dhulm and their transgression. And this can be done again by the hand, can be done by the tongue, can be done by the heart, that you hate the injustice that happened in the world. And even if I can't do anything about what's happening in Syria, but inside my heart I feel this is wrong, this is not right. That's a form of jihad. And this and many other things he mentioned, rahimahullah ta'ala, if someone interested, he said that in his book Zad al-Ma'ad. Really worth looking at. But the point that I would like to say here, that this comprehensive understanding of the concept of jihad is not found in these jihadi groups today when they talk about jihad. For them, jihad is only one, manifested in one format, which is fighting and carrying weapons and attacking people. I'm not denying that this is not part of the jihad, but it is wrong that al-jihad will be summarized in this meaning only. That's a very good point to keep in mind. Also, I would like to say that no doubt al-jihad is part of our religion. It is durwatu sanam al-Islam. It is one of the most important duties upon Muslims. And I mean by that al-jihad as a whole. Not to pick and choose from them like some people might do, but all of them. But a lot of people, especially in Western world, could not understand this concept. And I believe the reason behind that, because a lot of people look at religion as something completely separated from the state, separated from the daily life activity. Religion is just a ritual thing. Religion is a spiritual thing. Islam is not just a bunch of ritual practices. It's not just an article of faith. Islam is a way of life. Islam came to organize our life as individuals, as groups, as states level. So It provides solutions, guidelines. And one of the things that Islam provides for Muslims, what to do when they have a state, when they have a political entity, when they have a community that live together under one leader. Any society, any country in the world would need a force to protect this country. That's right. You need an army to protect this political entity. What we call it today in modern world, what? The Ministry of Defense, or the Ministry of War in some country they might say. That's right. So you have the Secretary of Defense or the Minister of Defense. That minister needed guidelines, how to organize his group, his basically army, what is allowed, what's not allowed. We have today the Geneva Convention. We have today in every country certain guidelines, code of engagement, when there is a war, when there is a fight. That's right. So all this that we have today, Islam came with it 1,400 years ago, with the concept that we have in our books of fiqh. We call it the chapter of al-Jihad. It is to organize the state. It is to teach the political leader how to organize the army, what to do with the prisoners of war, what to do with the if someone wants peace, when you declare war, when declaring war is not allowed, who can be enlisted in the army, you know, what's the right of the soldiers, and all these things. That's exactly this is what we have in every modern state today. So today, the chapter of jihad in books of fiqh is basically converted and somehow to what we see today in what we call it the Minister of Defense, or the Minister of, or the Secretary of Defense. The head of that department. As simple as this. So, and I think it is so important for us to see this way as part of a whole entire system. And that's completely different than the way many jihadi groups basically, or even some Muslim, vision the jihad. It is just carrying weapons and wars by individual or group. Or jihad is not a militia war. A jihad is not a terrorist group here and there launching an attack on civilians. That's not what al-jihad is. And that's very important understanding to be clarified. Also, one more point before we go to break. When was al-jihad ordained, Omar? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it was after about 15 years after the Prophet was sent to...
So after the Prophet ﷺ moved to where?
To Medina.
To Medina.
After having a state.
After having a state. This is very interesting point. Why? Al-jihad as a concept, formulating an army, never exists in Mecca time, because there is no state to control the army. In Islam, like any modern democracy today, they came to find out it is so important for any army to be controlled by the civilians. Because army is a might, is a power. Soldiers is a very strong force. This force needs to be controlled by a political entity to control it. Otherwise, if there is no political entity to control it, it can create a mess. And that's why, if you notice, al-jihad was established as a concept after there is a state in place. So the state controlled the army, not the other way around, army control the state. That's not how it is in Islam. If you look at the jihadi groups, look at ISIS for example, it's an army created a state. While the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ tells us that the state creates an army, civilian control the army. And that's very important understanding of the concept of jihad and war. And this, unfortunately, another point completely missing from the discussion about the concept of jihad today. Let's have a break and we continue, inshallah, our discussion.
Inshallah.
Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace.
Welcome back to our program, Heroic or Heretic. We're still talking about the concept of jihad and what jihad means. And the last point, we're talking about how looking at the way the concept of jihad was legislated, and I mean by jihad, fighting and having an army. that came later on after a state was in place, after the Prophet moved to Medina and the civil societies exist, and now you need an army to protect this society, to protect this new state. And that's very important understanding of the concept of jihad, especially in these days, and see how the difference between that meaning, or this understanding, and the way that this extremist group view jihad and introduce jihad to public. There is plenty of evidence shows that al-jihad cannot be done without a political leader, without a leader that call for it. And I mean, because you need that political leader to control it. And I believe the moment the jihad lost that concept, that anybody, just a group of people control, even declare jihad without a leader in place, a political entity in place, it creates a mess, it creates a chaos. And just by an honest study to the modern jihadist group today, and everywhere it exists, it created a chaos. And it led to a civil war, and it led to extreme groups comes out, even from group originally were not extreme. وإذا جاءهم أمر من الأمن أو الخوف أذاعوا به. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying in Surah An-Nisa, وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُم. So whenever there is a major issue, أمن أو خوف, which is related to the safety and security of the society, or something threaten the society, and no doubt war, it is something, it's part of that. What do you refer this matter to? To Ulil Amr, to the leaders, because they are the one who are going to make this decision. You have to look to the big picture, to the consequences. Declaring war is not an easy thing. You know, starting war is not like ending war.
No.
When you start war, you have that decision, but you don't control the other decision, which is ending the war. Many times you cannot end it, because you don't know how this will escalate and how this will go. يا أيها النبي حرض المؤمنين على القتال. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, give this order to Muhammad, to the leader of the Muslim, that he is in charge of asking people to to join the fight, or to join the army, or to participate in the jihad. It is the role of the leader. That's why al-ulama rahimahumullah ta'ala, and there is plenty of evidence, like I don't want to go into details, even in Sunnah al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For instance, when the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in Hadith Muslim, وَإِذَا اسْتُنْفِرْتُمْ فَانْفِرُوا, when you've been asked to join the army, when you to join the fight, respond to it. Al-Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, when he comment on that, he said, إِذَا دَعَاكُمُ السُّلْطَانِ إِلَى غَزُّ, when the leader asks you to participate in the fight. If you look at all our classic books of fiqh, to all our basically Muslim jurists, they will always refer to the issue of jihad has to be in the hand of the leaders. خمس في عند السلطان, Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, among the tabi'een, he said, one of it is declaring war. It's in the hand of the leader, the political leader, and the head of the state. That is his responsibility. That's why Ibn al-Qudamah rahimahullah, in his book Al-Mughni, he said there is an agreement among all the Muslim scholars upon that. And I can say the same thing said by As-Sarakhsi, same thing said by Al-Kasani, and same thing said by Nawawi rahimahullah. And these scholars represent, you know, different madhahib, different schools. Among At-Tahawi said the same thing. You have the Hanafi, the Shafi'i, the Hanbali, the Malikis, rahimahumullahu ta'ala. Even in modern days, a lot of these guys, they quote the sheikhs from the follower or the students of Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah. There is a plenty of evidence shows that the imams of Imat al-Da'wah in Najd also these did the same thing, that the jihad has to be in the hand of the leader. The only time the ulama made an exception, if you are in your home and people come to your house and attack you in your home, you don't need to have a permission to defend yourself or to defend your village. You know, that's obvious. Any leader will give a permission to everybody to defend their own home or their own village. What we're talking about in modern days is not that. It's a completely different case where there's an organized army, and now you have a state is formulated and so forth. and is only not defending. Now you see how these groups take their attack to Europe, take their attack to America, take their attack to in Egypt, to Saudi Arabia, to many countries. It's not anymore just somebody defending his own house or his own village, as they try sometimes to make it looks like. One more thing I want to say as well. A lot of time, even the Islamophobes share this understanding, and I think because they read what these extreme jihadi groups sign. What they try to make Islam looks like with the concept of jihad, that it is an imperialism, that Islam is just a religion to create a state, that state want to colonize the world, want to conquer the world, just want to destroy everybody else. They are the only one exist. And this is not true. You know, al-jihad is the last means that we use. That's why in Mughni al-Muhtaj, in books al-Shafi'iyah, and I can say the same thing in the Hanabila, and quote from many different schools, you will find them saying, لو أمكن, if you can guide people, tell people about religion, provide justice without fight, you're not allowed to choose fight.
Subhanallah.
You're not allowed to choose fight. That's why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, وَفُرِدَ قِتَالُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ لِمَنْ قَاتَلَهُمْ دُونَ مَنْ لَمْ يُقَاتِلْهُمْ. Al-jihad was obligated upon us to fight those who are fighting us. وَقَاتِلُوا الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ. Fight those who are fighting you. Not to fight those who never fight you. Those who don't fight you, those who are in peace with you, those who don't have a problem with you, those who will open door and open arm, why would you fight them for? وَإِن جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Whenever they choose peace over war, we must choose peace. We don't choose war over peace, as it is in Surah Al-Anfal. And it is not an abrogated verse, as some people might say, because the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam have choose peace with the people of Khaybar, and this incident took place after the revelation of Surah Al-Anfal. So some people might tell you, no, this is abrogated verse. No, it's not abrogated verse. Here we go. And I talked before about the issue of having a peace treaty, a hudna, an open peace treaty. It is permissible in Islam. And also the concept of al-mu'ada'a, when countries leave each other and live in peace, even without any peace treaty. That's led me also to another issue, which is the issue of jihad al-dafa' versus jihad al-talab. I think Umar was asking me earlier about that. I understand that this is a concept that exists in the books of the fiqh. But what I want you to understand also, that this concept is never mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah. There is no, this distinguish was never mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah, or by the companions, or by the successors, or any one of the early Muslim generations. This was made later on by the scholars, rahimahullah, and our fuqaha. And I respect our heritage, and I respect our scholars, rahimahumullah ta'ala. And I'm not denying that it exists. But what I'm asking, that we should look at this classification, this categorization of jihad, with a more of an analytical look, be a critical thinker when we look into this categorization and what that exactly means, what our scholars meant by this categorization. And is the jihad al-talab is the same concept that the jihadist group looking for and asking the ummah to do today? First of all, those ulama who said about jihad al-talab, which is basically that you declare war against other nations, not in a case of defense. Those scholars said that this only should be done by the permission of the leader. So it's a political decision made by the leader after calculating basically the risk of declaring that war. Also, this war is like any other rule, based on capability. You don't declare war against people that you're not able to or capable of to fight. That's not allowed. Also, this war that you declare has to be under a very clear banner, a very clear goal. I want to know, when Al-Qaeda declared war against the Western world, what was the goal? What was the goal? and give me one goal that they achieve, or even there is a possibility, a slight possibility to be achieved.
Even if they have a goal, they have to think about the consequences.
There is no goal. Any
No
goal
goal.
that you claim,
that's
it is
basically no
absolutely
goal.
ridiculous goal.
Yes.
What ISIS goals of declaring war against the world like this? There is no goal. There is no possible
don't have a goal
goal
or
to
even a
achieve.
plan.
It's not even a possibility or any plan. Also, it has to be, and many times, a lot of youth go and join these groups, and they don't know who is the leader of this group. He is hiding somewhere in a cave or somewhere in a place. They don't even know who he is. We don't know if these are Ba'athi groups after Saddam's system collapse in ISIS, or it is really a Sunni, or it is really run by the intelligent community of Iran or intelligent community of other countries. We really don't know much about them. There is so much vague, there's so much questions that people are not sure about. So that's why fighting under unclear banner and leadership is, and somebody die like that, the Prophet ﷺ said, مَاتَ مِيتَةً جَاهِلِيَّةً. He died like the way in the ignorant days. Because in the ignorant days, people just fight for no reason, for no clear goal. Also, the decision of declaring war is not based on the shuyukh or some religious peoples. It's based on experts in war. They are the one who must make that decision. That's why ulama rahimahullah said that fighting with a leader who is fasiq, who's not religious, but he's expert in fighting and war, is better than fighting under a religious leader who have no experience in war.
Takes a wrong decision.
But absolutely, this fasiq is fisq to him, but he will save the life of the people. So here when we say that this classification of these two categories of Jihad al-Talab and Jihad al-Dafa, we say Jihad al-Talab also can be understood, or in my opinion, that understood, that you initiate a war for prevention. It's called a prevention war. Basically, you know that this country is planning to attack you. So you attack them first, before they attack you. It's not like what people think that Jihad al-Talab, it means that you have to go after every nation in the world and wipe them out. And either take them as a slave or enforce Islam over them or take jizya from them. It is basically when you know that there is a threat happening that you can basically achieve that. Also another thing to think about it, which is something Dr. Yusuf al-Qaradawi mentioned in his book about the jihad, and quoted many other scholars as well. He said one of the meaning of Jihad al-Talab is not the actual fight. It is basically to put the border, to make the border well prepared. It's not an actual war, and he quoted many scholars, like some of the Shafi'iyah, said that this is what it means. It means that you put basically enough soldier in the border to send a message, don't mess with us. Don't try to invade our country. Remember, many of these books were written in a time where there is a conflict, an ongoing war between, where the world is Muslim versus Roman, Muslim versus or Umayyads or Abbasis or Ottomans versus this and versus that. The world was divided based on religion and divided based on dynasties fighting one another. That's not what we're living in today. The world today bound and ruled by completely different set of rules. And if we're not smart enough as Muslims to understand the difference between the past and today the battle is different. Today nobody's stopping you from giving da'wah. In the past, you fight because you want a permission to give da'wah. Today the world of internet is open. Today countries are opening, nobody can put a limit for you to reach and give da'wah to any place that you want. Unfortunately, the time is out. So, but we'll take your question in the next episode, inshallah ta'ala, because there's many points to be covered in this topic. Thank you very much for being with me today. And I would like to thank our viewers for listening to our program, and also extend my thanks to all our team here in the studio. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope to see you soon.
Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace. Peaceful, 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 peace. We made peace a symbol of ours. In the name of peace we gather here now. Oh Lord, please make these days of ours on this earth filled with peace. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam. Salamun, 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 salam.